Hey, my name is Jackson, and I make video games. In August of last year, I set myself the goal of creating a functional puzzle game within just 1 month, and 6 months later, here we are with a mostly finished game. Have you ever wanted to learn how to rig democratic elections in a perfectly legal way? Introducing my new game, Rigged, wishlist on Steam, where you gerrymander districts to rig elections. Don't worry, I'll explain what gerrymandering is throughout the video. In the game, you redraw districts to help the Crab Party win elections. Look. Here you have 5 blue voters and 4 red voters, the Crabs. Like this, the blue party wins 2 out of 3 of the districts. Now, if you change the district lines to look like this instead, the red party wins 2 out of 3 of the districts this time. That's gerrymandering. Kind of a funny name for a serious thing. To start the game, I created hexagon tiles, representing voting counties, and created a system of placing them down dynamically in code. I legitimately had to research the mathematical properties of hexagons to learn how to tile them correctly. Unlike square tiles, which are really simple, you have to move the tiles horizontally 1.5466666666666 times the distance you move the tiles vertically. Each of these tiles represent a group of voters that prefer one party to another. I then added click and drag features. If I click and drag over a group of tiles, it changes their colors so I can see what is happening. Instead of the tile changing color when clicked, I need to have different tiles of different colors to represent different parties. But I do not want to have to place these by hand. I began implementing a system where a text file is read, and based on the number in the text file, the specific color tile is created. This text file will keep changing as I add more features, but this is the main functionality completed. I created a system of reading levels this way, as I want to add a level editor for players to create their own levels to share with others. I think a level editor is a must for a tileable puzzle game like this. Districts will be composed of a group of tiles surrounded by a colored outline. There's plenty of outline shaders on Godot shaders, but they only work on a single object. I tried connecting the points of the polygons using a sorting algorithm, but I ended up spending way too much time on this, especially since it didn't work. The second idea was to add all the tiles to a viewport, save the viewport as a single image, then apply the shader onto that instead of the tiles themselves. This actually worked. There were a few problems with the shader when it came to using it in this specific scenario, so I modified the one I got online to better fit my needs, and in the end, I got a working district outline. The number of tiles in a district will depend on the level, but for development I have set the number to 5. I then made it so the outline displays the color of the winning party. I'm going for a kind of mini Metro vibe here, but that is going to greatly change. Oh, that's a crash. It was caused by you being unsubscribed from the channel. Subscribe now. The player can delete a district by clicking it. I also centered the tiles. My apologies to OCD viewers. I made a level based on the state of North Carolina. I added an overlay to the districts to make it more clear which party is the winner. Why North Carolina, you may ask? The short answer is, that's where I'm from. The long answer is... Warning, there's educational content here. I know some people don't like that. The governor of Massachusetts, Elbridge Gerry, signed a bill in 1812 to turn the Boston district into a salamander, influencing the results of the next election. 200 years later, and it's no longer a problem, and we live in a perfect utopia. Obviously that's not true. Look at this North Carolina district. What the hell is that? Yeah, so anyways, North Carolina is perfect for this. I got my brother to try and help blue win, even though red has over double the amount of tiles, and he completed it almost immediately. So it looks like the level design is going to be tricky, and I will definitely need to add more complexity. I wanted the game to include one of those election bars you see every 4 years in the US that looks something like this. To do this, I had to change how parties are handled. They used to be represented by numbers, but now they have their own class and properties like name, color, and current districts. I made it so these parties can be changed in the level text file, so players will be able to make whatever kind of party they want later. I take each of the parties and sort them by the number of districts that they control. I then create polygons of the party color to fill in the bar. When the polygons change, I use lerps to interpolate the position values to create smoother movement. I think it has to do with some sort of quadratic equation or something. I don't know, it just works. Crabs. Greedy, corrupt beings of pure evil. Think about it. Mr. Krabs, Tamatoa, Zeus? Zeus. Who better than to rig elections in their favor? Oh, and obviously you were one of the greedy crabs, as it is your job to rig the election for them. Maybe your father died, He's the Crab King, of course, and the Crab's party's power is declining, so you and the other crabs come up with a plan to keep said power over the other sea creatures. It makes perfect sense to me. I created a list of mechanics that I wanted to add. Third parties, cities, minority counties, but first we should see if the basic mechanics are all working properly. I made a group of test levels to send to my test subjects, cordially known as the people in this Discord group chat. Things were going smoothly, but one level in particular caused some struggles.
Yo, actually, how the fuck am I supposed to do this?
Because of this, I decided to make some levels challenge levels, which would be optional extra challenging levels that players could complete if they want to. After the first playtest, I created the first extra mechanic. In real life, counties are not all the same size. Some counties are cities, which contain many more people per square distance. In the game, changing the size of a hexagon would completely mess up the tiling of the game. So instead of changing the size of the county, I will have to increase the value of a certain county. The base tiles are still worth 1, but these town tiles are worth 2 regular tiles. I also added a city tile that is worth 3 regular tiles. Districts still contain the same population, but some tiles have a higher population density. 1 city tile and 2 regular tiles will add up to a complete district, as will 5 regular tiles, or any other combination that adds up to the same total value, like a city and a town. I created levels with these new tile types and once again called up these idiots, even though my playtesters were very stupid. They still came up with some great recommendations. When drawing a district, they found it difficult to keep up with the current population when using various tile types. Now there is a number that keeps track of the district size, and to keep track of which party is currently winning. When looking at the map, it can also be hard to quickly see exactly the voters in a district. I made it so when you hover over a completed district, it displays the number of voters each party has in that district. I also added pop-up text when either completing a district or creating an invalid district. For the next section of levels, I added a way for there to be more than 2 parties. In the level file, you can add however many parties you want. To get this to work, I had to decide how to handle ties. For the game, I decided that a tie would be an undecided district, and the level would be incomplete until all districts had a winner. If you live in the US or other various democratic countries, you know that you really only have 2 choices when it comes to the parties you can vote for. This game actually shows you why that is. Let's say the 2 main parties in a system are the crab and the dolphin parties. They have very different political ideologies. Now let's say there's a third party that starts getting support, the turtle party. The turtle party is similar to the dolphin party, except has a bigger emphasis on social services for unprotected children and maybe 1 or 2 other small differences on other ideas. Since the turtle party is closer to the dolphin party, some dolphin voters may switch to vote for the turtle party. Because of this, the crab party can now win an election, even though most of the population would rather have either of the other 2 parties win. Voting for your preferred party actually went against your own interests. I created yet another group of levels for more than 2 parties. Here's a fun one. Look how crazy a district can be and still have the crab party win. Wait a second, since when did the game start looking like that? The first change was the color palette. I used the Coral Reef palette from Low Spec, a place where you can get all kinds of color palettes. It's a great website. I then put a water overlay on top of the gameplay window to give the effect of being underwater. Since the game is underwater, I changed the icons from buildings into seashells. I also added a sand texture to the floor. Rural counties are regular clam shells, towns are nautilus shells, and cities are conch shells. I changed the font, updated the progress bar, and began working on backgrounds that would be different for each section of levels. The US has a history of racism and voter suppression of marginalized communities. Many states try to counter this by requiring there to be a certain number of voting districts with a majority of said minority. The way that I am going to implement this in my game is not exactly like real life, but how I'm going to do it is add minority tiles. The black outline here shows that a tile is a minority tile. If a tile is a minority tile but is added to a district without a majority of minority tiles, it is an invalid district. If instead you add it to include mostly minority tiles, it will now be a valid district. This is not how these districts work in real life like I just said, but this version is simple to understand for the puzzle game, and I think it still gets the point across. I created the group of levels for the minority tiles, and again got some playtesters to play them. Most of the feedback was about the difficulty either being too easy or too hard for certain levels, instead of actual problems with the game, which was quite nice to hear. I decided that I wanted to put rigged on Steam. I knew the game had at least a little potential, but I would need to continue adding quality of life features and visuals. The visuals have even improved while editing this video. I need to make a main menu, a level select, sound effects, music, and most importantly, an in-game level editor that I will connect to the Steam Workshop so anyone with the game can make levels quick and easily. Stay tuned for that next time on the Wavecrest YouTube channel, especially the in-game level editor. Thank you all for watching. Please like and subscribe if you enjoyed the video, and wishlist rigged on Steam.